Hello, everyone, and welcome back to More Than a Game with Fritz and Pitts. Part of the team, Drew Pitzer, the other half, JD Fritz over there, and we have a very, very special guest today, a Kennedy Award candidate, Brennan Wack from Wheeling Park High School, a standout running back, has over 1,875 yards rushing and 25 touchdowns. Brennan, we really appreciate you joining us today, and if you want to kind of go ahead and introduce yourself to the viewers that don't know you, here's your time to do so, my friend.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I think you mostly covered. I'm running back for Wheeling Park. Really enjoying my senior season.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll go ahead and let JD start us off with some of these questions. JD, go ahead and take us away, my friend.
Well, first of all, Brendan, thanks. Congratulations on the win last week. You guys handled business as we expected you guys to. Heck of a performance by you. 200, what you have? 264 yards and like 4 touchdowns, something like that.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And let's not forget now the all-time leading rusher at Wheeling Park. So congratulations on that, man. Like that's a huge accomplishment. How's that make you feel?
It's awesome. I mean, it was set I think 30 years ago by Boogie Johnson. He was an amazing player, so it definitely means a lot. It was really really tough.
Dude, that's back in my day. I remember Boogie Johnson. We never got to play Wheeling Park and some of those schools, but man, I do remember that name. Like he was really good, man. So I can't believe that record has stood for that long. That's awesome. So but Drew, yeah, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you right now.
Yeah, for sure. And Brennan, obviously, you guys have a really difficult test. Probably the best team that you've played all season, and traveling up to Martinsburg on Saturday at 4 o'clock. What gives you guys confidence to go in there and kind of pull the David versus Goliath and slay Goliath? What gives you guys that confidence to be able to go in there and do so?
Yeah, I think we've definitely had a really good week of practice. We've been practicing hard, and I think we've just been really battle tested. We've had probably one of, if not the toughest schedule in West Virginia. We played Steubenville, Ohio, which is a really good out of state
Oh yeah.
team, and played top tier West Virginia team. So I think that's definitely prepared us.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you guys played, multiple teams in the state that are all within the top 10. You guys are very battle tested. A couple big wins, but also a couple losses where you guys slipped up. How do you guys prepare for somebody that really, obviously, nobody's probably giving you guys a real chance, but how do you go in there with that mindset like, hey, we're going to go in there and do this?
I think we've had problems with just like stupid penalties and stuff, so we got to not shoot ourselves in the foot, play clean, and then I think we got to control the clock a little bit, not let their offense be on the field.
Yeah, for sure. Your best defense is keeping your offense on the field. JD?
Exactly.
Yeah, like we talked about before we came on air, you battled a little bit of injuries, missed a couple games this year. So how are you feeling right now? You feel like you're back 100% ready to go?
I would say so. Yeah, I mean, as much 100% you can get in late in the season, but I think
Right.
definitely better than I was feeling. So, felt definitely good, pretty good last week.
Yeah, the last couple games, man, you've had back up over 200 yards. Um, you might not feel like you're right where you were last year in terms of your numbers and stuff, but honestly, looking at your statistics, the number of games played, you're actually averaging more rushes, more yards per game. I think you're like almost at 210 per game now. Last year you had over 2,200 yards, but you were only averaging about 188 yards a game or something. So you're still
Go
right
crazy.
there, where you want to be. And like you said, 31 touchdowns last year to 24, 25 this year. So you're right in that same spot. So you're still having a really, really good season. But following that up with what I kind of want to know what you did to kind of prepare yourself for this season, being your senior year.
Yeah, I think I'm always working as hard as I can. I'm definitely working in the weight room, working in practice, and then getting work on myself, like by myself, and just being consistent. And I think I knew teams this year were going to key in on me, and they're going to be ready for me. So I think playing at the end of the season, where like that was the main focus, the defense definitely helps. So I think just being consistent all around.
And then with that said, I'll ask one more and then turn it back over to Drew. What camp did you go to? Attend some camps this summer, and where did you go? And then How was that experience for you?
Unfortunately, that was the hamstring that I hurt later in this season was also I also hurt my other hamstring during camp season, so I only really got to go. I got to go to a Robert Morris camp, and then a Yale camp, and then Lehigh also. So I only got to go to those three. But I don't know, the camp experience is pretty cool. There's a lot of guys there you get to compete, so I think I enjoyed it.
Well, that's good. All right, Drew.
Yeah, for sure. And kind of to pivot off of that a little bit, obviously you're one of the state's best players, if not the state's best running back. And I would say if you weren't injured for those 2 games, you'd be one of the leading candidates for the Kennedy Award. But what kind of offers are you looking at right now from the college level? Are you looking to play at the Division I level, or are you open to any sort of opportunity?
I think I'm open to any really opportunity. I definitely want to go to a good academic school, get a good degree for life after football. But I think not camping during the summer definitely didn't help. But I think a lot of stuff will ramp up after the season, hopefully.
Yeah, for sure. And again, you still got some time left. It's the playoffs now on any given Friday. We're Saturday. In your case, you guys, get an opportunity to play, the best teams here and here out. And JD and I were talking about it outside the pod that, all 4 matchups this week we think could be possible championship type atmospheres. Going to Martinsburg, a team that hasn't lost a playoff game in the state within the last 3 years, what do you think you guys have the edge on them? If you could give me like one word where you think we can expose them, what would that be?
Um, One word, I would
Yeah.
say, I don't know, maybe just I'll do 2 words. I'll just do ground and pound.
Ground and pound. I love that, brother. I mean, like you said, your numbers and what you've done at Wheeling Park. Now the all-time rushing leader at a historic school with multiple guys that have played at that next level. Where do you find yourself playing at? You still think you'll be a running back at the next level, or are you open also to playing maybe receiver or even a slot?
Yeah, I mean, I love the running back position. I love having the ball in my hands, but I'm definitely open to playing receiver and other positions too. I think I played receiver my sophomore year, so I still definitely I have that natural like ability. Like I'm good hands and stuff, so I'm really open to anything.
For sure, JD.
Yeah, and that's kind of it leads me to kind of my next question. Have you always been a running back? When did that kind of start that you kind of felt like, okay, now I'm transitioning to this position and this is where I feel like I'm best fit?
Yeah, I grew up playing running back in Pop Warner and like in the middle school, and then I think eighth, ninth, and 10th grade I was a receiver because we had positions filled and everything, so I was just doing what I can. But I think that definitely helped my development and helping me come out of the backfield, catch passes, and lining up in the slot.
That's good. And yeah, so you do play some defense, so that was kind of like hitting a point on what Drew said. That would be something you would consider playing even at the next level. Like if there wasn't a spot on offense, would you consider also, an opportunity to play on the defensive side? And if you did, where do you see your best fit? You kind of like that hybrid linebacker safety position. Where do you see yourself fitting in there?
I would probably guess safety. I mean, I don't know. I like covering people, but I don't think it's the strongest point in my game. But I think at the next level, I'd probably have to play safety. I'm not sure if I'm big enough to be like a linebacker.
Right, right. Drew?
So kind of to go off of football a little bit, you're talking about going to a school that has high academic values. What do you want, what do you want to major in, and what do you see your career outside of football turning into?
I think I'm not totally sure what I want to do, but I've been kind of looking into some physical therapy stuff. I think getting injured actually kind of got me into that like a little bit, and like I don't know, everything just is interesting to me for it. So I think that's probably my leading choice right now.
For sure. And again, another conversation outside of football. Who are you outside the football field? What do you like to do? When you're not in the gridiron or studying for the game.
I think I don't know. I do all sorts of stuff. I think I'm a pretty good student. My parents don't really let me not be a good student, but
Right.
uh, I don't know. I
Good for
hang
them.
out with friends. I'm pretty good at ping pong. I don't know. I don't know if people know that I'm really good at ping
You're
pong.
gonna have to we're gonna have to play and hook up because I'm pretty good at ping pong. I got a table in my basement, man. Let's go.
We'll see if you can return my serve. But
Okay, okay.
The competitor in them.
oh yeah,
Big talk there, big talk.
yeah.
JD, I'll
But
give it back over to you.
Yeah, well, just it seems like you're a pretty well-grounded young man, and with that said, kind of who's been like your role model, somebody that you've kind of admired or looked up to as you've grown up, and that can be somebody, football or on the field or off the field.
yeah, I think I have a lot of role models in my life. I think I have a lot of great people that surround me. My parents, my siblings, the whole extended family, and then I think Coach Doc is a great mentor too. He's just a really good guy, really great coach. So I think I just have a bunch of people around me that are great.
Well, that's good, man. And yeah, like Drew said, we introduced you as a possible Kennedy Award candidate. What would it mean to you being a senior now, to go out with that honor and become the Kennedy Award winner?
That would mean everything. I think that was my goal at the beginning of the season, but I know missing 2 games definitely doesn't help, but I think not many people do what I do in the state. But there's a lot of great players in the state, so that would definitely mean a lot to me.
Sure. So I'll go ahead and take back over from you, JD. What would be your dream school to go to if you had one school to pick? To give you a scholarship to play at the next level. What would that be?
My whole family are Notre Dame fans, so I think
Oh boy, of
if they offer me, I think I just go right away.
For sure. And they
course.
kind of like pivot off of that a little bit too. Obviously you're a big Notre Dame type guy. Say a school like UC or like Fairmont State or something offers you. Would you stay at that school for 4 years, or would you kind of look at that as more of an opportunity to prepare yourself to maybe even get to the Division 1 level?
Yeah, I think it would just depend on how I perform and how much I like the school. But if I'm doing really well and I see a better fit somewhere else, I think I'd be open to moving.
For sure, JD.
Was any good running back, they're not as there wouldn't be as good as they are without those guys up front. So just talk about how much they played a part, not only this season but in your entire career, and how much they've meant to you, up front there.
Yeah, I think my line I can contribute a lot of my success to them. I think last year we had a bunch of seniors, so they were like had seniority, they were experienced, and then this year we had a bunch of new guys step up, and I think they played really well. I think we had a lot of guys step up. I think we only had one returning starter, but they played really well.
Yeah, and like I mentioned earlier, going back to you becoming the all-time leading rusher, was that something that you knew that you could obtain this year? Did you know kind of when you were getting close how many yards you needed to be the all-time leader?
It was on my radar at the beginning of the season after the season I had last year, and then I knew I was creeping up towards it. And then I remember before the game, like I think one of the coaches told me like how many yards I needed this game to win, and then at
Right.
halftime they let me know that I broke it. So it was definitely pretty cool. But I was still focused on winning the game, and then I got to enjoy it afterwards.
That's awesome. And so one more thing, and so I know Drew had mentioned something similar to this, but like your kind of goals as a team, what before the season did you guys write on a board? Do you write it down on paper? Do you just have it in your mind, like as an individual, what your goals were before the season, and also as a team?
Yeah, I think everybody's goal is winning a state championship. I think that's definitely
Yeah.
the most important thing. And we had a couple losses that hurt us, but as a team, I think we always after we warm up and before we go out to practice, we always talk about like what we need to do, like work hard during this practice, remember what happened, and remember what we're looking forward to.
For
Drew.
sure. Yeah, and if I could ask, who would you compare yourself, NFL or college football? What would you compare your running style to? Who's the most similar to your game?
Um, I don't want to say like the stereotypical like white guy answer, I
Yeah.
guess, but I would say Christian McCaffrey. I think he comes out of the backfield and he's a really like he doesn't do like a bunch of stuff, like he's not like doing extra stuff. He just hits the hole, makes people miss, and goes hard.
Yeah, he puts your foot down and gets going, and again, that's very. I think that's a great illustration because Christian McCaffrey also, accounted for almost 70% of the offense for the 49ers in the last 3 weeks of the season. So, and that makes sense because you have such a heavy burden on your shoulders. But if you could speak on some of the other guys on your team, who are some of the other guys you want to spotlight, to say, thank you for helping me out and making me have another memorable season.
Yeah, I think there's so many guys on our team that are doing great, but when I was hurt, Isaac Sand stepped up, and he's a really great
Mhm.
DB too. And then we have Jay Borders in the background or in the backfield at QB, and then we have Nolan Yanchek, great linebacker, and he's a tight end, like fullback hybrid. And then we got Owen Dobrinsky Hines, he's a great receiver for us, and I think we had a lot of guys in the receiver room step up, and then of course my whole line, they're just amazing. There's not even a single guy to single out, but they play as a unit.
For sure. And there's another one word kind of question I'm asking you. If you could describe your team in one word, what would it be?
I would say gritty. I think we play to the end of the whistle every single time.
I love it. I love it. JD, back to you.
Yeah, that word's come up a couple different times, Drew, in a few of our podcasts that we've had some other guys on. So it's like I think it's a pretty common word that guys like to use. But hey,
Like,
it works for football, man.
Yeah,
Friday night. Looks like we might have some rain in the forecast. And so, do you foresee? Do you mind not playing in the rain? It's starting to get colder out. It's going to be probably in the 40s. Probably a kickoff, maybe some rain. So, how do you feel about the weather? And do you like one particular weather or not? I mean, obviously everybody likes probably warm weather, but how do you feel about playing in the cold and in the rain?
I love playing in mud,
I
but they don't have field like that no more.
Yeah, I actually hate playing in the hot weather. I feel like I always cramp and always like gas, but I don't know. I'm fine with the rain. I just got to hold on to the ball, but we just
Right.
keep it on the ground. But I don't mind the cold really. Just get a little compression shirt underneath and feel like you're fine.
So kind of talk about your all's game plan without giving anything away. Obviously, what is your kind of overall your look in terms of like what you need to look for to kind of stop Martinsburg? Is there any like players that you're trying to focus on, or you guys are just across the board just going to play your style of defense, and or are you guys trying to focus on specific things with Martinsburg?
They got guys all around, so you can't really focus on a couple specific guys. But they got Boston Todd and then Brian Dick at QB, so they're definitely two guys that we look at. But I think we just got to be consistent and got to not like shoot ourselves in the foot as you know.
Now, are we going to see you on the defensive side of the ball quite a bit, or do they kind of rotate you in to try to keep you fresh on offense?
Yeah, I think we try to do a little of both. I think I'm going to play a decent amount of defense, but I like it. I think it keeps me out on the field, keeps me warm, and then also making a difference on both sides of the ball. So I think after my hamstring injury, I played a lot more defense because it really just helped me stay warm and not like get
Right.
tight on the sidelines.
Well, it's good that you have that conditioning because we know you get 30 plus carries a game. It seems like quite a bit. And playing on both sides of the ball, that's a lot. You got to be pretty well conditioned for that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I don't really do that much like extra conditioning stuff. I just feel like it doesn't really come to my mind to slow down. Like I feel like I kind of speed up as the game goes on.
Right.
So Brennan, I want to ask you, the type of player you are, obviously you lead with your numbers and how you perform, but are you like a vocal leader too? Or are you a type of guy that, leads by action?
I would say I'm a lead by example guy. I think you don't have to be screaming at everybody. You just got to do what you're doing, and if people respect you enough, they'll follow along.
For sure. And again, when you guys go into Martinsburg, at Coburn Field, it's going to be it's a crazy atmosphere when you're there underneath the lights. They play the craziest music. They're loud. They're very proud. How do you keep your guys locked in and motivated to stick with your game plan and not allow the outside factors to distract you?
Yeah, I'm excited to play there. I think it's gonna be a great atmosphere, but I think we can channel their energy into our energy. I think we can use that to hype us up.
Oh, I like that. That's an interesting point, JD.
Yeah. Being your senior year this year, what kind of memory is kind of most sticks out? What would be your best memory, I guess, at Willing Park?
There's a lot of great memories. Being at practice every day, like hanging out with some of my best friends. But if
Right.
one sticks out, I would probably say last game. I mean, just post game, I had broken the record. We got a playoff win. It was great atmosphere in the locker room.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, the last game, hopefully, maybe your last game is the championship game. Let's push for that. That would
Yeah.
probably end up being your most memorable if we get to that point, right?
Yeah.
Talk about your coach a little bit more. What kind of coach is he? Is he really in your face, or is he kind of a laid back guy? How kind of motivating is he? And so talk about your relationship there.
Yeah, I think Coach Doc, he's amazing. I think he's a really really good balance of like being serious and like getting people fired up when he needs to, but also being calm and collected.
Right.
And he makes us focus on not just football, but being like a good citizen in the community. We do a bunch of volunteer things. We help out in the off season. So I think he's definitely a great role model.
That's awesome, man. It's good to hear about the community and stuff because that's something that colleges will look for. Make sure that when you post stuff, on all your social media accounts and stuff, put that you do community service work, man. That stuff goes a
Yeah.
long way.
Yeah, yeah.
True.
Definitely also volunteer hours and getting in the communities.
For
Right.
sure. And I'm kind of going to do a little bit of flashback because I heard of you a little bit last year. I mean, I heard of you a lot in the beginning of the season, but the first time I really got to check you out was against Spring Mills. And can you kind of talk about that environment, going there and beating them and upsetting them, and really kind of setting the tone for your senior season this year?
Yeah, I think that was actually probably I would give that my second best memory of the season. But it was we knew they beat us I think 27-0 last year,
Yeah, and a
and
condensed game too at that. I remember.
yeah, yeah. So it was definitely one that we circled on the schedule. But we had a great game plan coming in. The run game definitely helped. We had a good game there, and then defense I think we locked up in the second half. And we had a goal line stand at the end.
For sure. If you guys had one area of an improvement that you guys have to solidify before you played Martinsburg on Saturday, what would it be and why?
I think we just have to be more disciplined. I think a lot of these games we're having like a false start or we're lined up wrong and just first and 15. I think we just have to eliminate that. We can't let that happen. Let that beat us.
Yeah, you can't shoot yourself in the foot against a team like Martinsburg. You know, a team like I said, they've won 11 state championships in the last 15 years for a reason. It's because they're very disciplined and they're well coached. But I'll give it back to you, JD.
Yeah, just pointing again, like last year, because I think that game we called that game, didn't we, Drew? Spring Mills and Wheeling Park, and that's when we first were introduced to you. And we were like, man, who is this kid, Brennan Wack? Like he is a stud. Because that was your first year as a starter, correct?
Last year, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and you really stood out to us last year, so we knew coming into this year that you were going to be something special. Just looking at the numbers that you put up last year and everything. So, and of course, it didn't. You haven't disappointed at all. Like you said, it is a shame you missed those couple games, but I think if you guys can put on a good show against Martinsburg and put up some good numbers, man, that's going to go a long way. But kind of one of the final things that I was going to ask, and it just freaking went right out of my brain, actually, Drew. So while I'm thinking about the last thing I was going to ask him, I'll turn it back over to you.
Yeah, for sure. And again, I'm going to kind of take it off the field again. Do you play any other sports? What other hobbies do you have outside of just hanging out with friends or kicking? Do you play video games, play Fortnite or anything? What do you do in your spare time?
Yeah, I grew up playing like basically every sport there was. I played hockey until eighth grade, and then in high school I just focused on football and track. So, and then
Oh, track
I
guy,
don't know. I
JD.
can't really think of like specific things I do outside of school. Hang out with friends, hang out with my family, and then I'm not the biggest video. I'm not the biggest gamer you would say. I mean, I
That's
play like
good.
Madden, like NCAA, but I'm good at those games, but I'm probably not good at any other ones.
Now I feel it. I mean, I'd probably give you the work if we played college football. I'm pretty nasty. I was ranked number 400 in the world on
Oh
25.
wow.
Not as nice on 26. But one of my final questions too. When you speak on your all's team, obviously, I think you guys outside of the discipline really have a talented bunch. Your offensive line is incredible, probably one of the best in the state. What do you guys have like any rituals that you guys do before the game? Do you have any special game day rituals as well?
I think I have a couple game day rituals. I don't think we have that many as a team. I mean, we have the pregame speech by Coach Doc, but I always make sure to go and dap up my linemen before we go out of the tunnel, and then I do a bunch of different warm ups. Just getting my body ready. And people always make fun of me because it looks funny, but got to get it in.
It looks crazy until you do it, and brother, you've been doing it, JD.
Yeah, and that I was going to ask you, what do you feel as a running back or as an athlete in general that you need to work on to kind of get better at as this season progresses and then you move on into your college career?
I think something I always notice about myself is that my pad level's a little high. I got to get lower, and you just explode through the hole. And then I think maybe some pass blocking. I feel like we don't pass block that much. I usually just come out of the backfield and swing. But I think at the college level, you got to be good at that. It's just
Right.
not an option. So
So, with that said, are you a big weight room guy? Do you hit the weights? I mean, like, how heavy will you get into it after the season and kind of start putting in that work?
yeah, I would say I'm a pretty big weight room guy. I feel like you can't really notice, but I'm pretty strong. I think, but
I can see it in the neck,
usually.
bro. You got a strong neck.
Right,
Thank
right.
you, thank you. But we usually get a week off after the season, and then
Sure.
we get right back into it. We have a weightlifting class run by our lineman coach at school, so we
That's nice.
we always have it.
So we always try to ask the guys, we look at the guys on the roster, and everybody's always giving themselves a little extra height, a little extra weight. So what exactly are your measurables right now? And everybody knows that the weight kind of fluctuates, maybe goes down a little bit during the season, but typically where are you at weight wise?
Weight, I would say right now, end of the season, I think probably 192 ish, and then
That's good.
yeah, the doctor had me at 511.75, so you got
Oh,
to
that's
round that
rough.
up.
That's what I deal with every day, brother. I'm the same exact 5'11" and 3/4, baby.
Yeah,
Just
But
shy. Well, you're close enough to say you're 6 foot.
yeah,
If you're 5'11" and a quarter, and people want to say they're 6'1", so I'm like, come on, man, you ain't six
that's what
one.
yeah,
I told I was 6'1 1/4" myself. I mean, it worked when you're in the club with the J's on.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Gotta get
I
good
guess it
shoes.
all depends on how high that heel is on your shoe, right?
Gotta get on the
Yeah,
Well,
tiptoes,
I
JD.
think 192 is a good weight. You can just I don't care if you're 5'11" or 6 foot. 192 is a good weight to be in season, or whatever. And
yeah.
you get that, pushing 200 or maybe a little more than 200 going into your college career. I think you'll be right where you want to be. Kind of where do you know about where your 40 is right now?
I was just about to
I
ask
would
that.
say,
So,
I think it's probably like low 4.6, high 4.5, but we
Oh,
have a
well,
laser.
okay.
Yeah, it's not like I'm just saying like, oh, I run a 4.2 like stopwatch, but
Well, no, I don't care. 4.6 stopwatch is fast. You running if you in the 4.5s at all, you run a four five
that's
nine, dude.
great.
That's moving. That's
yeah,
moving.
That's
I
D1
don't
speed
care
for
if you run
sure.
a 4.65 is moving. I think anything in the 4.6s as a high school athlete is still pretty good. Because the thing is, 4.4s, low 4.5s, 4.4s in high school is ridiculous. That's just ridiculous. You're probably one of the top guys in the country. Because these guys that want to say they run 4.2s and 4.3s, nah, you gotta show me a video or proof on a laser or something. Because most of them guys are lying.
yeah,
When they put those in their bio, I'm like, come on, man, you don't run no 4.4.
yeah. I got you. There's a bunch of those.
Yeah. Well, man, that's all we got. I think, Drew, unless you got something else.
Yeah, I mean, I just got one more question for you. Obviously, we already talked about the Kennedy. If you want to kind of give your case for it again, in under maybe 30 seconds, why should you win the Kennedy Award?
I think defense is always key on me. I'm the number one thing to stop, and then I got injured right when I was going, and then came back, had to get rehab, and then came back and basically picked up right where I left off, and I think I play a little bit of defense too, and I've done this 2 years in a row now, so I think I wouldn't blame them if they didn't give it to me, but I think I'm definitely deserving of a candidate.
Oh, 100%. Like, and JD, I'm sure you agree with this too. I think there's not another player in the state more impactful to their team's success. You saw you guys kind of slipped a lot when you were in there, and that's not saying that you have a bad team by any means. It's just they rely so much on you. The game plan's built around you so much, and we really respect that. Again, we've had Maddox Twig on here. We had Mosser on here. We had Blake Fisher last week, and now we have you guys, and all of you guys have to be for sure. Top 7, top 8 players in the state, and we just really want to say thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you were on Metro News the other day too, to come on here and join us with More in the Game with Fritz and Pitts. And that is again Brennan Wack, star running back from Wheeling Park High School. They play at Martinsburg on Saturday at 4 o'clock. You guys definitely want to go check it out. He won't disappoint you. Martinsburg versus Wheeling Park is going to be an incredible game. We wish you the best of luck, my friend, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Yep,
no
you have a
problem,
good one,
Brennan.
bud.
Thanks a lot, man. And good luck on Friday night. Or
Thank
Saturday.
you.
I'm sorry. Good luck Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good one, Brennan. Appreciate you.
You
All right,
too.
man.
Thank
See
you.
you.
See ya.
And again, ladies and gentlemen, that was Brennan Wack from Wheeling Park High School. A true standout, very personal as well, JD. I
Really.
was exceptionally thrilled with that conversation. We could have really kept going on.
Yeah.
I know he's got a lot of game plan prep, but we can go ahead and kind of start with the reviews of last week. We'll go ahead and go with Jefferson versus Washington, where Jefferson ended up winning 51-10. How did you feel about that game and why, my friend?
I tell you, I actually went to that game, got there about midway through the second quarter. Kind of a tight game. It was only 14-3 at the time. We know that Bray Holmes got the start for Jefferson this week, and that was a coach's decision from Coach Hunter to sit Jackson Rockwell, but he did start the second half. Bray came in and did his thing, threw for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns in the first half. Tony Allen looked really good coming back. He looked finally almost back to form. I think he just needed to. I think he's fully healthy. I just think he needs to get his legs back, get his conditioning. So hopefully the playing time he got last week and then moving into practices this week, he'll be you won't notice any difference from Tony 4 or 5 weeks ago to Tony now. But yeah, I think it was a total domination, great team effort there by Jefferson, and give Washington credit. They fought to the end, was able to put 10 points on the board, score a touchdown against, Jefferson. But Jefferson was just at the end, Jefferson was just too much.
Yeah, again, the 7th win in a row. They're really clicking on all cylinders. Not really, the game that we expected. We expected to be a lot cleaner, especially about how that first half at Washington 2 weeks ago turned out. But again, they found a way to get a W. Very talented group. I'm very excited for them to play GW this weekend, which we're going to be covering on Friday at 7 o'clock. That'll be a tremendous game. I'm super excited for. But again, we both expected Jefferson to win that game by at least 3 or 4 touchdowns. Shout out Washington. They fought for real. Coach Terry Ray had them boys ready to get after it. But again, Jefferson was the better team, and now they're going to be matching up against GW on Friday. But I digress, and we're going to go ahead and move over to Musselman at Spring Mills. JD, what was your expectations of that game and why?
Well, we knew that was going to be a good game. We really did. We knew it was going to be a much closer game and a hard-fought game than a few weeks prior, which we saw Spring Mills win that one 21-0. And it was everything we expected to be. Spring Mills did come out, with a 10-point win, but it went down into the fourth quarter, man. Like it was tight and a little shaky, for Spring Mills there for a minute. And but they were able to pull it out, and they looked good. It was competitive back and forth. It was kind of everything you'd want to see in a playoff game. And unfortunately for Musselman, they came out on the losing end. Somebody's got to win, somebody's got to lose, and Spring Mills is moving on to play Morgantown this week.
Yeah, I was very impressed with Spring Mills because, again, they didn't start the game off too hot. It was actually 17-14 going to the fourth quarter, holding on to a slim lead and had to punt it away. But, again, they showed that fortitude, kind of that championship grit. And I've really been impressed with how Xavier Anderson has been playing on the defensive side of the ball this year. I think he had 12 or 13 tackles, and he had a couple sacks too. So he's been playing extremely well. That defense is coming alive. Hope Bokwe is playing really well at the safety position. But, again, I think Spring Mills is starting to find themselves. I still don't think they put together their best game of the season yet. With them going up to Morgantown and playing the number 1 team in the state and a team that beat them 20-0 at home earlier in the season, I think it's going to be a much better game. But again, very impressed with Spring Mills because a lot of people had them, getting upset by Musselman. And again, credit to Musselman too. Just because they're my alma mater, I'm going to say, I was really impressed to go from 1-9 to 4-6. To take a team that went to the state championship game, all the way down to the wire, was very impressive. Shout out to Coach Thomas. They did a really good job. But again, Spring Mills, just a little bit too much, and really excited for them moving on to play at Morgantown on, I believe, Saturday. But we'll move on. We're not going to really cover the Hedgesville at Huntington or Martinsburg versus Parkersburg South. I think both those games, we talked about last week, we just knew that there wouldn't be really any competition. Hedgesville really put together at the end of the season, got 2 wins, but at the end of the day, just didn't have enough. But again, Martinsburg took care of business. They're going to be hosting Wheeling Park with Brennan Wack, the guy that we just covered. But I do want to talk about their performance with Brennan Wack's Wheeling Park team and how they handled business against Woodrow Wilson, 27-14. How did you feel about that game, JD, and why?
Yeah, actually the game was 34-14, I think was the final.
Was it? They must have put
No. That was my I think that was my prediction. The score was 27-14. I apologize, Drew. Again, just like when we talk to Brennan, his performance speaks for itself. 264 yards, 4 touchdowns. He looks like he's right back to form, how he was the first 5 weeks of the season. And like we talked about earlier back then, he was leading the Kennedy Award by a landslide at that point. And it just sucks because that just goes to show you kind of what injuries do. He missed a couple games. Then it takes you a couple games to kind of get back to form again. So really 3-4 games, he wasn't himself. Now the last 2 games, he looked like his old self again, over 200 yards and I think 3 or 4 scores the week before and then 4 scores again this week. So, he looked good and then broke the, all-time leading rushing record. So that's another plus and something for him to look forward to. And hopefully they can carry that momentum and all that excitement and give him that motivation to come up here, play Martinsburg, and give him a good game. I mean, we still both probably agree that Martinsburg will probably come out on top, but I'd love to see Brennan have a heck of a game and really push Martinsburg to to another level.
Yeah, and I completely agree. I mean, Brennan, I know he's not the same player, but he reminds me a lot of Ryan Switzer. And when Switzer was at GW and they came up to play Martinsburg, he gave them all sorts of fits. And that's what I expect
Yeah.
again this week. I do think this is going to be a tough test for Martinsburg in their run defense because, again, we speak on Brennan Wack's impact and how he's similar to Christian McCaffrey. He scored all 4 touchdowns in that game against Woodrow. If he doesn't score those touchdowns, they don't win the game. He scored every single point for them outside of extra points. So, one of the best players in the state. He might not win the Kennedy. I think Brad Mosser will end up winning that award, but I think he's really, if he never gets hurt, I think he actually runs away with it. But again, very impressive performance by him. He's really coming into form. I think Wheeling Park's looking really well too. A couple slip ups again. That discipline thing that he was talking about. A bunch of pointless penalties. They still turn over the ball a little bit, but again, they're playing their best football at the best time. But we're going to move over to now University hosting Parkersburg, in which was a game that I had Parkersburg coming out with an upset, and clearly I was wrong. I didn't know what I was talking about. JD, if you want to go over the analysis of that game, go ahead and
Yeah.
feel free, my friend.
Well, I tell you, I had it a pretty lopsided score too,
You did.
31-7, but they both doubled that up. 62-14. That was a thrashing that University put on Parkersburg. And I wasn't quite expecting that much lopsided of a score. But I tell you, and we talked about, Harrison Helbig at quarterback. He had nearly 300 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns, 157 yards and 2 touchdowns from his receiver, Hayden George. So, I mean, the combination between those two have just been deadly week in and week out. And I just feel like University is really starting to peak right now. And I can't wait till our predictions. Like I spoke to you earlier, I think I might have an upset somewhere in there. So we'll get to our predictions here in a little bit. But yeah, University's been super impressive towards the end of this season. And then, they just capped it off with a dominating performance there in the first round over Parkersburg.
Yeah, again, you speak of Helbig and George's connection. I mean, that's probably the most dynamic, maybe outside of Barker and Mosser. Coming
Also,
into the
right.
coming into the playoffs. But again, very impressed. They get shut out against Morgantown. I thought that might do something with their confidence, but boy, that just lit a fire underneath of them. And I think they're one of the most dangerous teams. They're kind of my dark horse that possibly get to the state championship game. That's speaking a little bit too far ahead. Again, very tough test against Huntington this year, who hasn't lost a game to an in-state opponent, but very impressed with University. I mean, they just came out, won all facets of the game. Defensively, they're impressive too. I think they're playing extremely well right now, and I'm very excited for that matchup at Huntington on Friday night. But again, we'll go ahead and move forward now too. We're not going to really cover Morgantown versus Buchanan Upshur, but the last one we'll cover is going to be GW who hosted Oak Hill. What was your analysis of the game and why?
Well, Oak Hills looked good, then they haven't looked good. They've kind of been up and down the last few weeks. They would pop in the top 10 and then pop back out. They ended up 12th was their seeding going into the playoffs. Obviously playing number 5 GW, but again, I had to score a little bit closer. Still 42-13 is what I had, and they ended up giving them a little bit more than that. 58 points is a lot of points to put up against any team in the state. When you put up nearly 60 points. And again, Jaden Black, the freshman, he's been phenomenal, over 200 yards and 6 touchdowns. You know, and he's got over 1,500 yards now, and I think 25 touchdowns on the ground, 28 total. I think he's got a couple of 3 receiving touchdowns. So he's kind of moving up the list. I mean, he's somebody that you got to maybe pay attention to also in that Kennedy. There's a lot of guys that are starting to creep up here towards the late part of the season, but we'll get to those here in just a few minutes. But yeah, that was kind of my analysis, and it does kind of make me nervous because this kid doesn't play like a freshman. He plays like a senior, and he runs hard, got good speed, and and Friday night Jefferson better become with 8-9 guys in the box ready to stop this kid, because if he gets loose, he's gonna cause a lot of problems for them.
Yeah, and I think a lot of coaches are hoping that maybe he transfers within the next couple of years to a private school, because I think this is not a shot at West Virginia football. He is just too good, for my opinion, for this state right now. Just as a freshman, unbelievable speed. He has great vision. He's actually a decent
Yep.
blocker too. I mean, they'll air the ball out a little bit. And I was watching the GW Jefferson game back from about 6 weeks ago, and if he doesn't get hurt, I think that game could have turned out a whole lot different. But again, he's completely healthy now. 28 total touchdowns. I mean, phenomenal player. He's definitely moved up on my list too. GW really impressed me. Again, I think those 58 points were all scored in the first half. Am I correct?
Yeah, they were. Yeah, they were. And so they took their foot off the gas, and of course, obviously a running clock in the second half. But their JV pretty much played the whole second half, and they sat the starters. So what you see of Jaden at 221 yards and 6 touchdowns, that's all in the first half of a football game. And the other thing that impresses me with this kid, you look at the typical freshman kid is what, 5'5" to 5'7", maybe 130 to 140 pounds. This kid's 5'10", 185, 190 pounds. Like, not too many kids are built like that at 14 years old. So he's been phenomenal, and he's built like he's built like an upperclassman too. So I can't
Yeah.
wait to watch his progression over the next couple seasons. It's going to be really fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I was just so impressed with them. I think if Jefferson doesn't beat them, I think they're a top three team in the state. Because again, Huntington has 2 losses, Martinsburg had 2 losses, Morgantown had one, and they only have two losses as well. So if they didn't lose that game to Jefferson, which ended up really helping out Jefferson seeding wise, so they didn't have to make the long trip out to past Charleston. Just very impressed with them.